Morning. I'm sitting outside a crematorium just outside of Paris where my grandmother's being cremated at the moment. It's the first day I've woken up feeling anyway normal, and I think that's probably the pattern that people are predicting is, there was there was like a week of, wow, this is cool, this is different, this is like a movie. And then there was a second week of, ooh, this isn't very cool, it's like a fucking movie. And now I don't even know where we are, week 3. Doesn't feel like a movie anymore. Feels like this is just weird. And I came here a couple of days ago, honestly didn't think I'd make it. I'd been what's the difference between self-quarantining and self-isolating? I hadn't seen a single person for 2 weeks. I kind of waited indoors for 2 weeks. Definitely was losing my shit a bit last week because I'm used to seeing, I'm surrounded by people even though I live on my own because people are coming in and out of my house all the time. So I was definitely losing it a bit last week, but I hung on till Saturday, and then I went to my mum who's self-isolating, and me and her and my sister sat in the garden and shouted at each other across the garden. My mum's hearing aids weren't working that well, so it was a bit comic and a bit tragic. And then I drove down the road to my kids where they're self-isolating. They live out in the country out there, and I went in and my Janan, my ex-wife, was like, "Oh, do you want something to eat?" She's a fantastic provider, and she said, "Do you want something to eat?" And she started reeling off. I've been living off fucking tortillas and hummus for the last 2 weeks. I just have had no energy or inclination, even though I know it's really bad and that I should be taking care of myself. I've had no inclination to make food, hardly at all. So I've been eating really badly. And she said to me, "Oh, what do you want? Do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want to do that?" And I was thinking about it, and I couldn't think because my mind really was a bit addled, and I just broke down and started sobbing at the care, and it was quite. It's hard to put into words these moments because I've been in therapy or one thing or another for about 30 years now, and whenever I have a kind of one of those big breakthrough moments where you go, "Oh, that's what it's all about," it's always so obvious, it's so simple, it's never complicated. But I just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed because I realised for the first time since I was about 5, I admitted to myself I really need looking after. And I think ever since I was little, my dad's a complex person, and his care was always terribly conditional. So, if he bought me something, it was made sure that I knew how much it had cost. I mean, that's not a bad thing in itself, but there was bullying involved, if you know what I mean. It was like, do you know what I've had to put up with or go through to get this for you, blah blah blah. It was a very kind of hostile thing where I never wanted anything from him, and I think I realised by the time I was 5, I don't fucking want anything from anyone. This comes at too high a price. And Saturday, I'm 56 this year, Saturday, I realised I've been doing what I do for a living for a long time now, which is always, what you give away is usually a sign of what you really need most for yourself. And I'd been defiantly saying to the world, fuck off, fuck you, don't you fucking dare try and look after me, because I will not. I'm not going to give up my own sense of self or autonomy for, the price that I pay for getting any kind of care is too high. So just this moment, I think this it took I've seen this a lot with my clients. I've seen quite a few breakthrough moments already, and it's like it's taken a plague for people to realise or get through their stuckness. And I hadn't even realised how stuck. I mean, intellectually I'd known most of this, but to really feel it and really have that kind of chest heaving, and I could feel it coming. She was going, do you want pasta? Do you want rice? And I could feel this kind of thing rising in me, and I just lost my shit. And it was such a relief. It's such a relief. And I don't know that we live in a culture where anyone's really supposed to ask for help. I think there's differences in how boys and girls and men and women are trained. Certainly, as a man, you're not supposed to need help. You're supposed to be fucking Rambo, right? And look after yourself and never ask for anything. And then you put boarding school in the mix, which is where I was sent. And boarding schools are just training camps for that. You're supposed to be able to be totally self-sufficient and run the country. And if you went to eat and all that kind of stuff, and I actually woke up this morning feeling sorry for Boris. I don't wish this on anyone, man. I don't want anyone to have to go through this, but here we are. We're going through it. So I came to Paris. Didn't expect in a million years to get through customs. Did a bit of soul searching because I've been quite outspoken about the need for people just to stay put, and I felt quite hypocritical, and I think there is a degree of hypocrisy involved. And the way I consoled myself, bullshitted myself, I don't know, was I literally didn't have contact with anyone the whole way here. And I got to customs and I showed through the window this piece of paper from a doctor saying that Mai had been attacked in Paris on the street and her grandmother had died. She was looking after the kids. She was, she needed support, which was the truth. And he kind of looked at it through the window and then looked away, and I just sat here and thought, well, now what? And then eventually looked back and realised I was still there and just kind of waved, and that was it. I was expecting to be, strip searched, and well, I guess they wouldn't do that at the moment, but the full grill. And then just sat in my car on the tunnel, didn't get out, didn't open the windows, got out the other side. Most surreal journey in my life. I mean, driving across from Calais to Paris, I think I saw maybe 3 sets of headlights on the other side of the motorway the whole time. It's like The Road. It was like that film, The Road. It was just no one, nothing, no one there, completely empty. Really strange scene. So, yeah, that's already that's been a big learning for me. I need a lot more support, a lot more help. I got support. I joke. I say to people, I've got a team of people that keep me running. I've got my therapist, I've got my supervisor, I've got a men's group, I've got an acupuncturist, I've got an osteopath, I've got God knows what. But that's not the point, is it? The point is to be able to say, I'm vulnerable, I'm sad, I'm scared, I'm lonely. I'm fucking fed up of being on my own. I'm going mad from being in my own company, and normally I don't get enough in some ways. I look forward to the occasional weekend where I've just got a couple of days to myself, but like I've said in some of these other posts, no idea if you can hear me through this Taliban shit, by the way. I've said in other posts, touch, just touch, and I've been really missing that. And yeah, I don't know what to say to people who are isolated and on their own. It's necessary, but you got to find ways to connect with people one way or another, because there's not just the physical threat of this virus. There's the psychological threat of this virus, and I'm not saying because I'm a psychotherapist I should be. In fact, that's one of the lies about psychotherapists, right? That we're these sorted, evolved people who should be able to be on. No. We are very good, if we're any good, at telling other people how to live their lives, but it doesn't mean that we can see ourselves, and that's the old symbolism, isn't it? The ancient Greeks knew more about psychology than anyone, and that's the symbolism of the oracle at Delphi, which was blind, or you get those 3 witches who share an eye between them. No one can see themselves. We can dish it out, So it took a bit of a collapse to recognise that, and just, I don't know, I can never think of a good, nice, funny finale to these things. Just, yeah, stay well. Get well, Boris. Never thought I'd say that. All right, lots of love, everyone. Bye.